Good morning, everyone. How are we doing out there in Final Cut TV land? This is an exciting time for Final Cut Pro. Coming up, and the next, well, even this coming week, right? Thank you for the thumbs up. Even this coming week, Apple has announced a Mac week. They're going to be announcing Mac M4 hardware all week long, they said. Alyssa says, good morning from Jamaica, here editing a podcast in Final Cut Pro. Good morning from Lincoln, Nebraska. Again, not conflicting with Husker football. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I presume you're a Husker football fan. That's why you're saying that? Very, very good. So Apple has pre-announced they're going to be releasing, they call it Mac Week. Good morning from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Now, are they going to have any like promo videos for some of these products? Don't know. They just said they're going to release them. Wozniak said they're going to release, this is going to be Mac Week. What did he say? His little play on words. Little play on words. Where was that? Mac, Apple. Let me do a search. Let me do a search. Apple hasn't posted yet. What? Of course they've posted. The hell's that guy's name? Let me see. I'm just looking on. Well, I'd TiVo the game if it was in conflict with this. Very good. Good morning, Gabriel. How are you doing? I was glad to hear that you can make it to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit this year. I remember the first time you came to the summit, 2018, was it? 2018, 2017, I remember. Be good to see you again. It was from his personal Twitter. What is the guy's name? Jozniak? Let me put this. I'm just searching. Because he had a clever... It's just a clever little thing he said. Where in the heck was it? I can't remember. Greg Jozwiak. Let me look there. There he is. Oh, that's what it was. It was Mac your calendars instead of mark your calendars. That's what he said. Mac your calendars. We have an exciting week of announcements ahead starting on Monday morning. Stay tuned. So, Mac your calendars. Now, obviously, it's going to be a big Mac week. Now, this is the M4 Max. 1 year ago, they had the M3 Max. Gabriel says 2017. Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember. That's the year that we went to that weird movie theater for some kind of the keynote or whatever. AMC movie theater. That was weird. Good morning from the Florida Space Coast. Absolutely. Florida, Florida, Florida. I'm glad everybody survived down there. That's the one, the AMC Theater. That was a little bit strange. I was filming, as I normally do, at the Creative Summit. I was filming the keynote, and people were on stage. There was a projector projecting down, and everybody's face was in shadows, and they were cut off halfway because the projector had some of the projection on people's faces and stuff. The AMC Theater. We've gone to the AMC Theater one time for the keynote. We also we had a luncheon at another location one time. I guess they couldn't accommodate us, so they were busy, the Juniper Hotel. But this year, we're back at the Juniper Hotel, which is fantastic. Fantastic. We're back at the Juniper Hotel. So as far as let's talk about the Mac event first. That's coming up this week. So in 2016, that's the first year that I went to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. And they had a Mac event the day before the Creative Summit. Maybe on a Wednesday, I forget what it was. Probably a Wednesday, and the Creative Summit started on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, something like that. So they had a Mac event, Apple did, the day before the Creative Summit. And they announced the new version of Final Cut Pro 10.3 at the Mac event. It was when they had the Touch Bar MacBook Pro, and she goes, "Oh, by the way, that's the new version of Final Cut Pro." What? I wasn't expecting that. So the question I have is, are they going to introduce a new version of Final Cut Pro or demo a new version of Final Cut Pro at this forthcoming Mac Week? Now, it would be a little anticlimactic if they introduced a new version of Final Cut Pro during the Mac Week and then had nothing new for us at the Creative Summit. Here's what I expect. If they show us a new version of Final Cut Pro at this Mac event, whether it's a video, whatever, something like, hey, here's a new M4 MacBook Pro, and look how Final Cut Pro runs on it. And they might say this is a new version of Final Cut Pro that'll be out in the future. That'll be out in 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or before the end of the year. Something like that is what I would expect them to do. And give the Final Cut Pro team, let them introduce the new version of Final Cut Pro to us at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit and to the world at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. That's what I would expect if they even show a new version of Final Cut Mac Week. I'm not convinced that they will, but even if they do, if they did, they could say this is a future version of Final Cut Pro that's coming out later this year, or this is a new version of Final Cut Pro that's coming out in November, or whatever they want to call it. That's what I would expect them to do, not just say, hey, a new version of Final Cut Pro, and just pull the rug out from under the Final Cut Pro team at the Creative Summit. That would be a little strange. In 2017, we got to see and play with the new iMac Pros. Very cool. And the latest version of Final Cut Pro before they were released. Yes. Then that would have been, let me see, 2016, that would have been 10.4. In 2017, we got Final Cut Pro 10.4. 2016 was 10.3. 2017 was 10.4. 2018 was 10.4.4. 2019 was 0. 2019 was absolutely nothing. There was no new version of Final Cut Pro released in 2019 at the Creative Summit. Good morning, Final Cut TV. Good morning to you, Mr. I Edit Projects. What types of Macs do you expect next week, and do you think they will upgrade the encoders, as they have not done so, from the M1 to the M3 processors? I did not know they did not update the encoders. Did they do it in the iPhones and not in the Macs? I didn't know that. That's news to me. That is news to me. There you go. Well, I'll just put that up there. Let me see. Here we go. Pics. This is what we were talking about, our friend Gabriel Spalding. I think I talked you into coming that year, or there was something going on, Final Cut Pro Radio or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe I gave you a free ticket. I don't remember. Something like that. So this was 2017, as my friend Gabriel Spalding, and that's me, of course, in the blue shirt. And that was at the IMAX Theater, AMC IMAX Theater. Absolutely. Very cool, Gabriel. Thanks for sending that over. I wonder if the rumored small form factor Mac Mini will make a good replacement for my Apple TV. So I'm interested in our friend Sean Beckner. Good morning, everyone. Follow Sean over there at Instagram. He's a woodworker like myself. We both like working with wood, and he has his following. I think I'm mainly on Instagram, maybe YouTube as well. But I wonder if the rumored small form factor Mac Mini will make a good replacement for my Apple TV. You know, I have an Apple TV that I never use. I have 3 or 4 of them, older ones, and I have one. I just don't use it because I get the Apple TV app on my television. Whatever the native apps they have on the television, one of them is Apple TV, and I just log in there. I logged in there and just use that. So I'm in the market for a new Mac. Now, if I had to choose, I don't need a MacBook Pro because 95% of what I do is right here in my studio. 5% I need the MacBook Pro for, which is going to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit and going to NAB. Those are the only real times that I need my MacBook Pro because I need to do Ecamm Live, which doesn't work on the phone. It doesn't work on the iPad Pro that I bought. So I really like the setup that I have. 2 screens and my MacBook Pro. But since the majority of time is spent on my desktop, I'm open to the idea of getting a Mac Studio or a Mac Mini Pro, one or the other. I mean, when I priced the new MacBook Pro, the M3, $5,600, something like that. So I wasn't going to spend that on an M3. M4, maybe. I don't really need one, but I'll probably get one. I don't really need one, but I'll probably get one. I don't think I want to wait another year. Sean says, thank you, Richard. YouTube for long-form, deep editing. Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for short-term love and respect. Absolutely. So here's the deal. Is it TikTok? Oh, CapCut. So somebody had an article this week about CapCut. CapCut has 60 pages of an end-user license agreement and terms of service. 60 pages of PDF that you have to agree to before you can use CapCut. There ain't no way in hell I'm ever going to be using CapCut. 60 pages? It's ridiculous. absolutely stunningly ridiculous. I think that LumaFusion has 2 or 3 pages of things that they're doing. There's no sharing of information. There's no accessing your contact list. What's that got to do with editing? This is what CapCut does. They can use your content any way they want. You can't have any claims to it. It's nonsense. I would very much like to buy an iMac Pro with a bigger and better screen than on the current iMac, as I do not need a faster MacBook than my current 16 Pro M1, but I would not mind a bigger screen. So that would be interesting. I'm not really interested in a 24-inch iMac. I have bigger screens now. I got a 34-inch, which is my main one. If they came out with a 32-inch iMac Pro, that would be a contender. So if I get a desktop, it would be a new iMac Pro with a bigger screen, or an iMac with a bigger screen, or it would be a Mac Mini Pro, maybe. M4 Mac Mini Pro, maybe. Maybe. I don't think I'm going to spring for the Studio unless it was a lot cheaper than a MacBook Pro. Because when I priced the M3 MacBook Pro and the M3 Mac Studio, they kind of came out in the same price point, over $5,000. Now, I have over half of that. I have about $3,500 saved up for when I sold my 2019 Mac Pro. So I have that. I never spent it. I kept it in cash, so there's no temptation to spend it in a bank account or something. I have it in cash, so I have about half of it. If I was going to buy today, I'd get a new MacBook Pro. I really, really like my MacBook Pro. I don't think I'm going to wait another year for the M5s. I don't think so. Although I might. This MacBook Pro is doing fantastic. It's really doing well, so who had to see? I did get a new iPhone this year, and I did get the iPad, the big iPad Pro, the biggest one, for 13-inch, whatever it is. So Apple's already got my money from those two. We'll have to see. If I see a good Black Friday sale on a MacBook Pro and M4 or something, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I might go ahead and get one. I don't think I'm going to wait another year. That's my point. What are they going to release this week? Certainly a new MacBook Pro, 16-inch. I don't buy the 14-inch, so I don't really care about those. Certainly a new M4, maybe a Max version, maybe whatever they are. I think mine's an M1 Max, 64 gigabytes of RAM, top CPU, top GPU, whatever they call them now. I don't know. I got the top in this. It's running fantastically. Sometimes Final Cut gets a little bit of beach balling going on, but I don't know if that's my plug-in count or whatever the heck it is. I have no idea. But anyway, if they're just going to do press releases all week, that would be a little underwhelming. To me, that would be underwhelming. I think they might come out with a couple of videos, pre-produced videos, and the press release. They might come out with both. But just press releases, okay, but that's a little... Are they going to rely on the influencers who have had these new Macs for a couple of weeks to release their videos? I would think they'd do a couple promotional videos. If they do one for the MacBook Pro, they might say, look, this new version of Final Cut Pro, look what we can do with the new version of Final Cut Pro on the new M4 16-inch MacBook Pro. Now, once again, I would be surprised if they released Final Cut Pro at this event versus the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit in 2.5 weeks. Well, on Monday, it'll be 2 weeks, right? Yeah, Monday it'll be 2 weeks. 2 weeks and 2 days. That would surprise me. That would surprise me. I would expect we're going to get the new version of Final Cut, whatever it is. 11 is what I'm hoping. 11. so a week from Monday, week and 2 days from Monday, we would see it on Wednesday. Wednesday, November the 13th is when we go to Apple Park, the spaceship, big circular thing, and we get to talk to the Final Cut Pro team, or they get to talk to us. Text-based editing, is it happening? Yes, it's happening. We just don't know when it's happening. Of course it's happening. Of course it's happening. We don't know. If they do Final Cut Pro 11, I would think it would be in there, if they do that. I think they'll include videos, compare import chips, and reintroduce on the Mac since it's been around 4 or 5 months since the M4 was introduced on the iPad. Yes, I agree. I would think they would do some 2 or 3 minute promotional videos. Hey, look what this new thing is. They'll play those. But there's no event. That would be, maybe they'll just release the videos on their YouTube channel. Maybe that's what they'll do. And then influencers who have had these MacBook Pros and the new Mac Mini, especially for the Mac Mini. Interesting if they just introduce the Mac Mini with a press release. I mean, they could introduce it with a press release and then in the press release have a link to a video on YouTube, but I expect a press release is not as powerful as a video where they can demonstrate something. We'll have to see. This is a new world if they just do things with press releases. I'm trying to decide if I should update my 16-inch MacBook Pro M1 Max to a new M4 series MacBook Pro. Me too. I'm the exact same spot. I'm always pulled towards buying something new from Apple. I got the new iPhone, which I pretty much always will do because it's my main camera and I want the latest and greatest. Now, I have my iPhone 16 Pro Max and I have an iPhone 15 Pro Max that I'll sell the 15 next year if I get the 17 next year. To be honest with you, the features that the 16 has over the 15, it's not that great. Yeah, you have this little button here, which I don't really use, not yet. I might get used to it. It's got a faster processor. Yes. I think it's got more memory maybe, but I don't shoot 120 frames per second 4K ProRes. It's not something that I do on a regular basis. Plus, if you do that, you have to attach an SSD drive. Well, I like this. I like shooting like this, bare bones as much as possible. Shooting like this, and then I stabilize if I need a little stabilization. This is how I shoot a lot of times because I don't have a gimbal with me. I don't have SSDs with me or anything else. This is how I normally, a lot of times, shoot like this. So I don't shoot 120 frames per second. You need an SSD, and the SSD has to be formatted in exFAT. It has to be formatted in exFAT. So let me show you what I've got going here. If I know I'm going to be shooting 120 frames per second 4K in ProRes, this is what I take. This is a little setup here. 4 terabyte Crucial. Plug it in. I have a little right angle cable there. Let me just turn this around. These are adjustable. And I plug it into my iPhone this way. So this is what I would do if I'm shooting 4K and I have a Bluetooth button right here that I can trigger the recording on and off. So if I know I'm going to shoot 120 frames per second 4K, or I'm going to shoot for long periods of time and I want to shoot to an SSD, this is what I would do. I'm bringing this to the Creative Summit. This is also can mount to my tripod, so I set it on my tripod. So if I'm shooting hours and hours, I'd rather shoot to the SSD because it's much easier to take the SSD, plug it into my MacBook, rather than transferring it from my phone. But either way, short videos, I'll just use the internal SSD on the phone. Long videos, I can't imagine shooting 120 frames per second Apple ProRes 4K. I don't really have any need for that. I don't shoot that. I've tested it out. It works fine. But this is how I shoot. Like I said, this is a nice little setup. It's got an iPhone trigger that can trigger recording, stop and start recording. I have a cold shoe here. I have a cold shoe here. And I have another cold shoe over here. So I got 3 cold shoes, 1 cold shoe, 2 cold shoes, 3 cold shoes. I can mount whatever I wanted to on there. But this is pretty basic, but I like the L handle. I don't like the bump that they put on the phone. That feels awkward to me. I can't wrap my hands around it. This I can wrap my fingers completely around it so it feels more comfortable. I don't like the bumps on the phone. I've seen those as well. I don't like those. They don't feel comfortable for me. So this is what I shoot if I'm going to shoot to an SSD. Even without the SSD, I still like this trigger. I like this trigger a lot. I can mount a light on here if I want to. I can mount my DJI Mic 2 Pro on here if I want to, the receiver, plug it into the phone. I really like this setup. It's not too bulky, and it's pretty heavy duty. I can turn things around. This goes vertical if I want it to go vertical. The SSD as well. So I really like this. This is I can never remember, Neewer, Neewer. So handheld, quick, it's what I'll use. If I'm going to be out for a while interviewing people, I absolutely will use a gimbal. Gimbal is much better than built-in stabilization on all these small form factor phones and things. Some more comments. Still using my M1 MacBook Pro despite having the newest Mac Pro desktop. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. They've done it like that before, a week of press releases and videos of each product a few years ago. That's what I expect. Press releases and short, descriptive, demonstrative videos. If they do the video thing, we might see a new version of Final Cut Pro. But I don't think they're going to release it. I think they're going to wait for the Creative Summit. My M1 Max won't drive my Dell ultra-wide at 120 hertz. So there's that. Okay. What kind of updated Thunderbolt USB ports should you expect? I would love if the new Mac Pros had Thunderbolt 5. That would be phenomenal because Thunderbolt 5 has been out for a while. I don't know. Siri's a bit sluggish on my iPhone 16 Pro Max. So let's go back to this question from Darius. What kind of updated Thunderbolt USB ports do you expect? Isn't there a USB 3 2.2 dual something that they don't have on Macs? Something like that. There's some kind of a dual USB 3 2.2 times 2 or something that no Mac has. Maybe that would be an update. Need this setup. I have a video on my YouTube channel. Demonstrating what I just showed you. For me, 4K 120 is slow-mo, and I rarely use it. YouTube and my Lightning both like 4K 30. ISO 60, 40, 24 is okay for outside, but my lighting shows a flicker. My footage is typically speeded up. my footage to about 4K, absolutely. I used to shoot everything in 24, but I switched over to 30 just because I have iPhones and I have my Action 4 and I have these live streams, and I just standardize on 30 frames per second now, so everything's set to 30. Using my M3 iMac performs well. Is editing? Absolutely. Good morning, Matthew. How are you doing? What do you think is going to happen this week? I mean, the thing is, yes, we're all interested in a new Mac hardware. It's been a year. The M3s came out last year. The iPad Pro, which I bought, I have an M4 on that, and it's really, really nice. But I don't really utilize the M4 iPad Pro. I watch YouTube videos, I read books, and I run LumaFusion. That's the only reason I got it. Haven't tried Final Cut on the iPad yet. And I'm not really intending to do that unless there's a really good reason. If they came out with a breakthrough something feature on the iMac version only that would force me to get a subscription for it, I would do that. But I don't really intend to do it. But I would get it for a month and then let it go down for a month. Thank you. I wouldn't keep it year round unless it had incredible features. If it had new features that I absolutely could not be without, that's not on the MacBook Pro, then I would consider it. But I'm not planning on it. I think they may show DaVinci and Final Cut Pro running on the Mac Minis or laptops, but I don't think we'll get anything major until the summit. That's what I really like to see. That would be disappointing for the Final Cut Pro team. Now, like I said, they could show us a new version of Final Cut on the new Mac hardware, and I think that would be hard not to do, but they would say, this is a future version of Final Cut. That'll be out later this year. That's, if they show Final Cut, that's what I think they would do. This is the new M4, 16-inch M4 MacBook Pro running the new version of Final Cut Pro that's going to be out later this year. And they're not going to tell you what version number it is. They're just going to say a new version. And then we get to see the new version at the Creative Summit. This is what I'm saying. Final Cut Pro 11, we'll have to see. We will have to see. Look at this backyard. Look at this. My leaves are coming down. They are coming down. I've had some I've had some leaf pickup already. I've already had one major pickup. And I'll be doing another pickup. I'll be doing another pickup Monday and Tuesday. I have this big leaf vacuum system that's attached to my zero-turn lawnmower, and I have the most powerful leaf blower in the world. I did research, and I bought it last year. The thing is phenomenal. It is heavy. It's a backpack. It's really heavy. The Echo 9010T is what it is. So I got this yard finally under control. Finally under control. Unless they display Final Cut Pro using the Apple Intelligence, I hope we get something major. I think something major is in store. I think, well, here's the thing. Even if they release it this week, which would be kind of weird because the Creative Summit's only 2 weeks away, it's still within the proximity of the summit, and the Final Cut Pro team could still demo it. But I think they're going to let the Final Cut Pro team introduce it and demo it at the summit, even if they show it to us running on a new MacBook Pro. I mean, when they have a new MacBook Pro, the M4 MacBook Pros, right? Demo. They want to demo something new. They don't want to demo old Final Cut that's 6 months old, 4 months old. We only had one update to Final Cut Pro in 2024 so far. One update, 10.8, and one bug fix in the last 10 months. So for the 10 months of 2024, one update, feature update 10.8, and one bug fix 10.8.1. That's all we've had. So I'm hoping they're saving up for a big update. That's what I'm hoping for. You should try Final Cut for iPad. The Apple Pencil writing feature is great. I'm very jealous of that. You could get free trial if I'm not wrong. Yes, you get a free trial for 30 days. I don't like subscriptions, and I don't want to support subscriptions for these giant companies. I don't care about third parties. Small third-party developers, if they have subscriptions, I support them. Ecamm Live, which I'm broadcasting on now, is a subscription, but the subscription is for them taking my feed and sending it out to YouTube, Facebook, and X simultaneously. I'm not doing that. Ecamm Live is doing that. I send Ecamm my feed. They take the feed and send it out to 3 different places. Now, so that costs them money every month. So I don't mind paying that subscription. And as far as you should try Final Cut for iPad, yes, the Apple Pencil writing feature is very cool, and I'm very jealous that we can't do that on the Mac. So since I got the iPad Pro, I might try it out. We'll have to see. The MacBook Pro, the Mac Pro is more powerful than the iPad version. It's got more things, and they always tell you, once you get to the iPad version, send it to the Mac version to do advanced color correction and do advanced this and advanced that. So we'll see. If they gave me the opportunity to buy an iPad version of Final Cut Pro, hands down, I would buy it. I don't like this subscription. It just irritates me. But I might do the trial and then do a month here and a month there, skip a month. I wouldn't get the yearly because I wouldn't use it that much. Why would I? I have Final Cut Pro on my MacBook Pro. Thunderbolt 5 claims up to 80 gigabits per second bidirectional bandwidth, 2 times versus the previous generation. That would be a major upgrade. Yes, if you have hard drives that support it and stuff, yes. The question is how many T5 drives exactly? How many Thunderbolt 5 drives? It's not that. Maybe one? I think I've seen maybe one, and of course they're extremely, extremely expensive. Are you surprised only press release for the new Mac upgrade in an entire week? It's not that big a surprise because they've done stuff like this in the past. And last year they had a spooky event on whatever. They've kind of divvied it up. Rather than make one big, long video, they probably have half a dozen short videos that are going to be on the YouTube channel, half a dozen press releases, influencers who already have this new Mac, M4 Max. They're going to have their experiences, their reviews out. So they got all this publicity without doing a major production and stuff. Well, we'll see. Plus, we got the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit coming up. I see you got the much larger new Positive Grid amp back there. I love this thing. Listen, I love electric guitar, okay? I love electric guitar. And I have since I've been a little kid. This thing sounds phenomenal. Now, it's artificial intelligence and stuff. I mean, I have a Mesa Boogie downstairs, but that thing weighs a ton. And this thing is just very portable. I'm going to get a battery for it. Get all kinds of tones out of it. All kinds of tones. You do the tones in the iPhone, and it's really great, and it's very portable. Anytime anybody notices that, I'll go ahead and play it a little bit. I have pretty much maxed out M1 I got last year. I'm interested potentially in the new upgraded small size Mac Mini to be released. I am too. I'm curious about that, especially if it's reasonably priced. I mean, it's not going to be in the Mac Studio price range. It's not going to be in the Mac Studio price range, which is, look, I priced a Mac Studio and I priced a MacBook Pro, and what I wanted, at least 64 gigabytes of RAM, probably 128. I'd love to get the 8 terabyte SSD in the MacBook Pro. I would love that, but it's thousands of dollars to go from the 4. I think it's $1,200 to go from the 4 to the 8. But if I'm going to spend it, I'll probably get it. This 4 terabyte SSD on my MacBook Pro, okay, I have it divided up into 3 volumes. I have it Sonoma. I can boot into Sonoma, which I am right now. I have it bootable into Sequoia, and I still have a legacy Ventura that I can boot into, which is what I do my day-to-day on, because all the apps that I need on Ventura work. My mail is on Ventura. I'm not even sure how to get my mail over to Sequoia. I'm going to skip Sonoma, although I'm on Sonoma right now because of Ecamm Live. I'm not even sure how to get my mail. Do I copy the mail folders over and put them in place? I don't know how that works. Burke says, hey, Richard, I recently listened to your Final Cut podcast. I'm interested in the gimbal you mentioned for the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Could you link? I can indeed. It's the Insta360 Flow is what it is. Insta360 Flow. Let me pull it up for you. Start page. And I had the DJI. Let me see. Insta360 Flow Stabilizer. I'll give you the Amazon link. It's $149, and there's a couple of reasons I like this one over the DJI. Let me put it in the. I think it'll take it. Will it take it? Wait a minute. What the heck's going on there? Take that out. It's not let me. Here we go. Well, just go to Amazon. It's not letting me put the link in. It's too long or something. I don't know. So Insta360 Flow. I like it better than the DJI OM6. I had the OM5 and I liked it. When the Insta360 came out, Flow, there's a Flow and a Flow Pro. I didn't get the Pro. I didn't need it. The Insta360 has battery life twice as long as a DJI. That's one of the reasons I got it. It still has the extendable selfie stick thing, which I use sometimes. And it has some other features that I really like. And it handles my iPhone 16 Pro Max with a case. and with the DJI receiver plugged in. That it handles all that fine. What are the chances we actually get Final Cut Pro 11? I think the chances are pretty good. They're going to update Final Cut Pro in time for the Creative Summit. Now, the Final Cut Pro team listens to this podcast. This is probably their favorite Final Cut Pro related podcast. Final Cut Pro team, there we go. So, is that, what the heck? Didn't that, oh, there we go. Yeah, it came on. So, they're going to show us something new at the Creative Summit. Typically, only in 2019 they did, and every other time they have. And Logic went, I keep saying this, Logic jumped from 10.8. Logic 10.8 came out last year at the Creative Summit. 6 months later, in May, it jumped to Logic Pro 11. So Logic Pro went from 10.8 to Logic Pro 11. It skipped 9, it skipped 10, went right to Logic Pro 11 in 6 months. Final Cut Pro 10.8 came out in June, so 6 months is right. The Creative Summit is just shy of 6 months. So Logic Pro went from 10.8 to 11. I think Final Cut Pro can do the exact same thing. But I'm not going to be disappointed if it's not. That's not what I'm saying. So do I think it can be 11? I absolutely do. I've not been able to push my mouse between systems running Sonoma and Sequoia. Apparently the systems need to run the same version of Mac OS. Huh. I have a slider and a gimbal for the smaller iPhone form factor. I've now upgraded the Pro Max to something bigger. So the weight limit on the InstaFlow is 300 grams, something like that. Whatever that weight is, and the iPhone's only 230 something. I can use a case, and I can use my iPhone, my DJI mic receiver plugged into the phone, and it balances fine. And that's all I really need. Yes, so the Insta360 Flow has been replaced with the Flow Pro, which has features like AI tracking when you move around and possibly connecting your phone via a new MagSafe connector. Absolutely, but I don't care about the tracking. I don't use it for tracking, so I didn't update from the regular one to the Pro. I didn't do that. About AI in Final Cut Pro, I'm not ready for it. I think it's not ready for real-world use. We'll find out, because Apple, Tim Cook says we're not going to be the first with AI, but we're going to have a good implementation of it, so we'll see how that goes. Only disadvantage of the Flow Pro should be shorter battery life by 1 or 2 hours, according to the reviewers. Okay, there you go. I don't use my gimbal to run out of batteries. I think you would enjoy the Osmo Pocket 3 for your walking and talking videos around your town and at events. Here's one of the reasons that I don't want to get the Osmo Pocket 3. When I record with my iPhone, on a gimbal, whatever, I record the front camera and I record the back camera. Okay? I do that a lot. So what happens is it creates 2 files, a 4K file for the people in front that I'm interviewing, and a 4K file selfie of me talking to them. And I use those 2 files, separate files, and I edit them into one video. The Osmo can't do that. Now, I do that a lot. It's a little bit, sometimes you got to get the angle right so you're getting the person and, and you're looking properly. So there's 2 apps, at least 2 apps that do that. I use the Rode something app that lets you record 2 4K video files independent of each other, front and back camera. That makes sense. Yeah, that's why I don't use the Osmo. But the other thing is I have the Action. Do I have it here? I don't have it here. I have the Action 4 that I use a lot of times if I don't want to bring my phone out and I'm not recording front and back cameras. I'll use my Action 4. I'm going to get the Action 5, the DJI Action 5. Completely disappointed in the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. It still doesn't do 10-bit recording. I don't care of all the other fancy features. It doesn't do 10-bit recording. I've got to have 10-bit recording. I record 10-bit on my phone. I record 10-bit on my Action 4, and soon I'll have the Action 5. You just I'm not interested in your camera if you don't do 10-bit. And the Insta just came out. As they call it, the Ace Pro 2. It should be the Ace Pro 1.1. I just hope they don't announce Final Cut Pro 11 available early next year. Ugh. So here's what they've done in the past, Eric. Last year, they showed us at the Creative Summit Final Cut Pro 10.7. They demoed it. They allowed us instantly to talk about it. They have never, at the Creative Summit, never said, don't talk about this. This is a secret. They've always encouraged us to talk about it on social media instantly. So as soon as we know, you will know. As soon as we know, you will know. Twitter, Facebook, whatever, YouTube. But they came out with, they showed us 10.7. They demoed it, said you can talk about it, blah, blah, blah. They said it'll be out later this month. So it came out on the last day of November. So I expect perhaps they might do something like that again. Here's the brand new Final Cut Pro 11. Here's the features. Here's the features that text-based editing, auto captioning, a new roles-based audio mixer. Bam! Whatever. It'll be out later this month or whatever. Who in the heck knows what they're talking? But I think it'll come out this year, hopefully. End of November. Especially if they want people to buy those M4 Macs and MacBook Pros for Christmas. Here's a new version of Final Cut Pro. I love my 360 Flow, but I haven't tried it without my case, which weighs nearly 50 grams, which might be the reason why. Had problems with this subtly turning off while recording to do the big heavy. Yeah, I don't have the thinnest case, but I have a thin case. I need some protection. And it balances fine on the Insta360 Flow. Even with the DJI receiver plugged in. 300, right at the limit of 300 grams. That limit. It works fine. Sometimes it gets too heavy and it'll just conk out and you have to just rebalance it or whatever. But I don't have a big, thick case. I wouldn't expect it to balance with a big, thick case. I have a much, much larger gimbal and I can put this phone in a cage. And that gimbal does 6 pounds, so it's not a problem whatsoever. I only use that if I'm out in direct sunlight and I need a shade on my phone. So I have the iPhone in a cage, I got the shade thing on it, whatever. I use that gimbal for that situation. Do you think Apple will target Hollywood broadcast market? They're still having meetings with the editors, Hollywood editors. They're still having those. So target them amongst a dozen other targets. They're mixed in. You got college age kids that want to do video editing. You got YouTubers and influencers that are a target. You have documentary filmmakers that are a target. You have event videographers that are a target. Even high school kids are a target. Is Hollywood mixed in there? Of course. Of course they are. but they're not the dominant target. There's no, I would say influencers are probably, in this day and age, influencers are a big part. YouTubers that have millions of views. I mean, millions, more than TV stations have, more than films in the theaters. So it's all good, okay? Hollywood is good. I love some of the stuff on Apple TV that's done in Hollywood, I'm sure. A lot of TV shows, I really, really like them. So that's all Hollywood, even though it's not in the theaters. Is it part of it? Sure, sure. As a matter of fact, let's go over there and look at the, let's go over there and look real quick. Well, let me do this first too. I want to put this up there. So I'm going to the Creator Summit, and I could use your support while I'm going to the Creator Summit because it costs money. Here's one way you can support me. buymeacoffee.com, Richard Taylor. You can support me that way. I've got some people have already supported me there. It helps with Uber drives, Uber rides. It helps with buying coffee. I certainly will be getting a hamburger and French fries at Habit. Habit Burger and Fries. It's walking distance from the Juniper. And coffee, sometimes coffee and a bagel in the morning. I might be going to Starbucks. Do you use ND filters when filming your phone? If yes, which ones? I bought the small rig filters, but sometimes they still let up too much light when filming in 24p, which I do save space. I bought into all that stuff for my iPhone 14. I got the Moment case. 12 and 13, I got the Moment case, maybe 13 and 14. Moment case, and I got a set of Moment filters, and I got ND. I don't use that stuff. I just go outside and film. I mean, I understand some people use it. It's just too much. I want to pick up my phone and just pick it up and hold it in my hand and film. I don't want to be, which ND filter can I use? I have ND filters, yes, but I don't recommend for any brand other than I would get a variable ND filter. I don't want to, I have a pack of ND filters which one am I going to use? I got to try this one. If I'm going to set up a shoot outside, I would use them. But for just normal walking, run and gun, no, I'm not. So Apple targets the future of video making before broadcast of Hollywood discover it. It is the future. They target, like I said, they don't target one segment. They target a dozen segments. Is Hollywood mixed in there? Of course they are. You don't think that Apple, well, I'm not saying you. Of course, Apple would like to have a Hollywood film that gets Academy Awards edited on Final Cut Pro. Of course they would like that. Steve Jobs used to like it. I'm sure they would like it, but it's not the only target, and it's not their main target. It's just one of 12 areas that they look at for their targets. That's one of many. So regardless what Apple does and the Final Cut Pro team, thank you, Final Cut Pro team. We know you watched this live stream. Thank you. No matter what happens within this week, the Mac week, and the 2 weeks later, the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, no matter what happens, we're going to get an update to Final Cut Pro. And we're getting new Mac hardware. So both of those things are exciting. Now I'm going to point you somewhere. Let me point you over to here. Let me see if this is ready. Okay, I'm working on this. This is not really ready for prime time yet, but since you are here watching this morning, I'll let you see what I'm working on. It'll be out this week, but it's not done yet. Let's go over there. Look. Over there on fcpx.tv, countdown to the 2024 Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. There's a countdown page I have, okay? This gives you the hours, days, hours, minutes, and seconds to when the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit starts. Now, you bookmark this page for the latest news about the Final Cut Pro 2024 Summit. I have a blog, and I have a image gallery, and I'm working on this article. It's not finished yet. Information about the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. So I just want to give you a little sneak preview, countdown to the 2024, since you are special. As Final Cut TV audience, you're very special to me. Very special. Will Final Cut Pro 11 be free? I suspect it will. Logic Pro 11 was free. When I say free, we've paid for it over the years. But Final Cut Logic Pro went from 10.8 to 11. It was free. No subscription. And it was anybody who has Final Cut, anybody that had Logic Pro 8 gets Logic Pro 11 for no charge. And so I would say Final Cut would be exactly the same thing. So Final Cut Pro team, if you are in charge of Final Cut Pro, as far as Apple's concerned, don't spring any kind of charge or a subscription on us without future notice. Tell us 6 months in advance. Hey, the next version of Final Cut, there could be a charge for. One-time charge, not a problem. We've used it for a while. So we'll have to see how that goes. One update in a year. Have they ever done that before? They did between 10.4 and 10.5. It took 3 years to go from 10.4 to 10.5. I was expecting 10.5 in 2019 at the Creative Summit. No, we didn't get it for 3 years. 3 years to go from 10.4 to 10.5. That was a real big drought for updates. Now, I know the excuses, Apple Metal 2 and Apple Silicon transition. Hogwash. That's a bunch of baloney. DaVinci Resolve had lots of updates during that time period. Did they have to do Apple Silicon? Yes. Did they have to do with Metal 2? Yes. They did. And they didn't have the inside scoop like Apple had with Final Cut Pro. I don't know what went on there, but it was a drought for updates, so we'll see. Do you use any color grading plugins? I used to. I don't anymore. I have DaVinci Resolve Studio if I need sophisticated color grading. And I do most of my color grading right inside of Final Cut. It's not mission critical. I'm not doing, well, I do have a documentary in a theater. It's only showing locally. The next showing is March the 2nd. We're booked for March the 2nd, Sunday, March the 2nd. It'll be another local showing. So I did some stuff with that, but most of the stuff is like this. Does my color look okay here? I've adjusted things the way I like. Do you have a mascot? I have a mascot. Yes, I do. So, does the color look okay on this live stream? I try to adjust the best I can. I know basics about Final Cut Pro coloring and stuff, the very basics about it. That's fantastic. There we go. So do you have any questions about the Creative Summit or Final Cut in general? Any other comments? I have an event I'm going to. I'm going to a small art showing this afternoon. A friend of mine is showing, so I'm going down there to see him. 1.79 terabytes. How did I get 1.7? I'm looking at my storage space. Oh, I erased that much? I guess I did. So I have a tri-boot system. I have Sequoia, Sonoma, and Ventura, 3 volumes that I can boot into. And then I have a 4 terabyte SSD. And then I have another volume that's called MacBook MBP storage. So I store everything on the MPB storage volume, and all my volumes can access that. I don't have to worry about permissions and doing stuff. Will you broadcast your creations on YouTube even as a subscription someday? Which creations are you talking about? I have over 1,000 YouTube videos up right now. 1,010, something like that. I'm working on 600,000 views this year. I got 50,000 views in the last, about 10,000, 11,000 a month views I get on my YouTube channel. Now, it's a lot of it's Final Cut Pro, but not all of it. I also do animal rescue. I do some other things. Sometimes I do some Twin Peaks stuff. And, oh, you're talking about that video, like what you show on locally. So it's right now, it's only been shown in theaters. We're going to keep theater only for the time being. In the future, we'll probably do something online, yes. But it's really not a universal audience. It's not an audience that really extends outside of the local area, because it's about a local original rock band that never made it, that should have made it. And I love these guys. They were called the Razz, R-A-Z-Z. And they were an incredible, incredible rock band that just didn't make it. They should have, but they didn't. And we did, a friend of mine, Jeff Krulik, he does Heavy Metal Parking Lot. He does a couple of other cult films you might be familiar with. Led Zeppelin played here as one of his cult films. And we both were Razz fans, so we teamed up and did this documentary. It took years. We've shown it in the theater twice. The third showing is going to be March the 2nd, 2025. But that will be fantastic, absolutely. It'll be good. It'll be good. It's a good documentary. The fans of the band really, really liked the last version. V2 that we did. V3 will be, it doesn't change that much, but it changes a little bit. We have, of course, since it's about a band, it has live music performances in it. But anyway, look, the next 3 weeks, exciting times for Final Cut Pro. The next 3 weeks, exciting times if you're on a Mac. 17 days, 23 hours until the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. 17 days, 23 hours, 15 minutes, 18 seconds. There's the backyard. Leaves are coming down. I will have to deal with those. I used to spend a lot of time color grading personal videos, but with 10-bit ProRes log and enhanced light, and colors makes it possible to do color grading way faster with just a few adjustments. That's what I do. I always try the enhanced light and color. I click it on. If it makes it look better, that's the AI machine learning version of color that Apple added. If it looks better, I leave it on. If it doesn't look better, I turn it off, and then I'll adjust. I use the sliders that came from the iPad. I used to use the color board initially. Then I used color wheels. Now I just use the color adjustments that came from the iPad version. I really like that. I just find it more intuitive for me. The shorter the waiting time, the longer it seems to be forever for us. I understand. So, Monday, maybe I'll come back on in the afternoons, noontime, during the week, if they have things that are exciting about the new Macs. We'll have to see how that goes. If there's any Final Cut Pro sightings, announcements, whatever they're going to show us. If there is any, I'll come back on and we'll talk about it. I like coming on here to let the worldwide audience talk about Final Cut Pro. That's the reason I come back here on Saturdays. We've built up a nice little community, Final Cut Pro worldwide community here. Very, very nice. A lot of people on X watching. 24 people on X are watching right now. A lot of people on Facebook, a lot of people on YouTube, as you might expect. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Very, very good. So anyway, any other questions? I'm excited about the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Let's go over there and look at their schedule. I don't think that they've updated it. By the way, here's our buymeacoffee.com. We've had people. Daniel, thank you very much for your support. SK Shots. I'm not sure how to pronounce this one. Thank you for supporting. Absolutely. Daniel again. Stefano. Bought a coffee. Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for buying coffees. Eric, Emmerich, everybody for buying coffees. It is really, I don't think maybe you don't know exactly how, it's really cool. So that's you. I'm not sure how to say your name. S-J-O-E-R-D, Jord? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate it. It's fantastic to be supported. It really is. I mean, this is support, $5 at a time. Some people buy $3. He says, yes. Okay, thank you. Where are you from? I'm not sure what part of the country you're from. But anyway, you can find the link. Well, here it is right here. I'll put it up there. Buymeacoffee.com, Richard Taylor. Netherlands. You're from the Netherlands. Very, very cool. Absolutely. Let me go over here real quick. Do you think Mac OS 15.1 and next Final Cut Pro locked together and Apple was waiting? Well, I'm sure there's some things that they're waiting on. I don't think that they're necessarily locked together, but yes, because it'll work on older versions of Mac OS as well. From the Netherlands, there you go. So what do we have here? Let's go over here to the Creative Summit. Cupertino, the 13th to the 15th. Register now. Dates announced. You can see that we are represented down here as a marketing sponsor, media sponsor. Here we are right here. Right here, Final Cut TV and Coffee, and then Final Cut Pro Radio, the Final Cut Pro dedicated podcast, all things Final Cut Pro. That's what my tagline that I've had for quite a while. Let's go over here to the program and see what's going on there. Apple Day, Apple Day, Apple Day. Coffee and registration. Let me get my thing out of the way. Coffee and registration. Welcome in chat. Lunch break. Last year, Future Media FMC bought us box lunches. Maybe they'll do the same. Shuttle to Apple campus departs. Visits. Apple Park visits. First shuttle, blah, blah, blah. I'll probably go to the Apple Park Visitor Center this year. I didn't last year because I was kind of tired. And then it's not called a keynote, but the first session is Michael Cioni, Bet on the Future, Bet on Yourself. These are all the different sessions that we have. And then Fitness Plus apparently uses Final Cut Pro to edit all their videos. So that's something that's going to be interesting to see how they do that. And then Networking Expo Night, which I'll probably do a live stream from that event. And then there's other November the 15th, bunch of other things. And then this is the big one, to close out the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Dialogue with Apple, Q&A with the Final Cut Pro team. Q&A with the Final Cut Pro team. That ends the Creative Summit, just like last year. It's exactly the same thing. That'll be interesting because that's when we can ask open questions. Now, you can't go on there and say, hey, are you going to get this feature? Hey, are you going to get that feature? They're not going to answer that. They're not going to answer that. So, but you can ask other questions. You can ask other questions. Last year, I asked the first question. I'll certainly ask another question this year. I'll think about it. As a matter of fact, if you have questions you'd like to hear answered, doesn't mean they're going to answer them. Doesn't mean I'll probably get one question. You don't get to do 2 and 3 questions. If you have a question, send them to me, and I'll sort out questions and see what we can get done. I think YouTube loves creators who can keep people watching until the live stream ends. Your ability to keep us entertained till the end of your stream should mean more money, YouTube. Yeah, so I got money from YouTube. I've gotten hundreds of dollars from YouTube so far in the last couple of months. So that once again helps expenses when I go to the Creative Summit. It helps, and so do all the Buy Me a Coffees. What I was meaning, 15.1 needed for AI special functions in the future, Final Cut Pro, sure. AI special functions, yes, probably going to need it, but it does not. Some features require the latest version of the Mac OS, yes. And if that is AI related, that's what it could be. It could require it for those specific features, but 90%, 95% of the features are going to run on even Intel machines, or 90%, let's say, because it's still supported. Intel machines are still supported. One of my favorite Macs of all time was my 2019 Mac Pro. That was a great Mac. One of my favorite Macs of all time. I also like my M1 Max MacBook Pro. So we'll have to see how that goes. What's going on? Pop-ups. All right, I'm going to get out of here for today. I'll probably be back on during the week, depending on what Apple announces, what Macs they announce. We'll come back on and talk about it. If there's any sightings of Final Cut Pro, of course, we'll talk about that as well. Any other questions about the Creative Summit? Oh, I got one more about the Creative Summit. Of course, I keep forgetting about this. Hold on a second. That's not it. That's not what I wanted. Here we go. Let's take that one off. Gabriel Spalding. Here we go. If you're going to the Creative Summit, use this code right there. FCP Radio TV, get 15% off. That's almost $100, $92, something like that. You get off the price. FCPradio.tv. If you're going to go to the Creative Summit, use that code. Absolutely. What else do we have here? These are some of the places that I am doing Final Cut Pro stuff. So I have Final Cut Pro Radio Podcast, 10 years. Final Cut Pro Community on Twitter. Final Cut Pro TV and Coffee, which you're watching right now. Final Cut Pro Tips and Tricks, which is our biggest Facebook group. It's got over 13,000 members. And then, of course, all the way to the top is fcpx.tv. That's been out since Final Cut Pro 10 was out. It's been out that long. Let me just do this real quick. Here we go. So this is last year. Let me pull this up real quick. Here's a video I shot with the Blackmagic camera, ProRes Log. No, not ProRes Log. I shot this with H.265. The Blackmagic camera just came out with a high data rate, H.265. So I shot this little video with that. That's just my backyard. Now, let me see what else I have. Here's a video with Mark Spencer from the Creative Summit last year, Expo Night.
One of the sessions I did today was how you can live skim without selecting anything and clicklessly keyword and rate clips super quickly, which that whole process of the metadata in the browser and how you can organize everything there before you put a single thing in the timeline has been the biggest mind shift for me to get away from just throwing a bunch of stuff in the timeline and then figuring out where to put it, because you get it organized up front and then your first string out is pretty much the bones of your story.
Right.
You know,
it's like a rough cut, right?
Yeah, and it's so much faster. You just do the
That's Mark Spencer from the last. This is Expo Night. It's really cool. Here, let me see. Here's the line going in, signing up for the Creative Summit last year. Here's Megan and Jordan from FMC. There's the line. There's people actually showing up. That's fantastic. Getting your badges, etc. And what else do we have here? Okay, here is, so this is my hotel room, broadcasting from my hotel room, last Creative Summit. And here I thought I had the music running and it wasn't running. Wow. A lot of interesting things happened yesterday at the Creative Summit, of course, as you might expect. And we're going to be talking about some of those. I've gone over the notes that Apple released about what's going to happen in the Final Cut Pro, and there's more to it than just the scrolling timeline by far. There's a thing called the secondary, what is it called? Compound, we'll go over it in a minute, but it's like a compound clip secondary storyline combination, but everything expands right in the main timeline. That's a big deal. That's basically, I go from my hotel room and I take Ecamm Live with my MacBook Pro and I broadcast some of the events that happen. So I'll be doing one of these on Wednesday after we get back from Apple Campus, initially in the evening, but I'll also do one the following morning, telling you what happened. But I'll also be posting on Twitter immediately, so you can follow there. And I'll get set up in the hotel room, get ready to go live for any news, any breaking news. I will be your virtual window into the Creative Summit. I will be able to do that. Once again, I'll punch in virtually to the Creative Summit and let you know what's going on. I'll do some live streams. I have plans for some live streams, Expo Night for sure, and I'll do a live stream from my hotel room each night, probably. The bigger one will probably be in the morning because I can rest and get up and have coffee and get ready for the day, and I'll be more energized in the morning typically. But we'll see how that goes. Apple do limit some FCP functions for ARM, not on Intel CPUs lately. They don't limit it. It's naturally limited because they don't have Apple Silicon. So Intel and Apple Silicon are two different platforms, as you know. Some of the things were developed for Apple Silicon. They don't work on Intel. I fended off an editor's job scam a few weeks ago. They wanted me to buy an Intel MacBook Pro to edit on. There you go. But I don't listen. There's so many scams on the internet, even in emails and stuff. I don't click on links in emails. I don't click when people send me links in Messenger, videos. I don't click on any of that stuff. If I get an email that I think is legitimate, just say from a credit card company, it looks legitimate, I won't click on links in the email. I will go directly to the site and check on my account from there. Because even if they look, even from Apple, sometimes they look fake from Apple. Oh, your iCloud account is this and is that. No. Just log into apple.com or log into iCloud. Check on the status there. Don't click on links. Don't respond to messages in Facebook. I don't. I mean, just clicks and links and stuff. I don't do that. All righty. I'm going to get out of here. I do expect to come back this week, during the week, after Apple announces whatever they got. They're going to start Monday morning announcing, and we'll see what they have to show. I'll probably come back, at least for a short video. So subscribe over there at the YouTube channel. Subscribe over there at the YouTube channel. Don't forget, Richard Taylor TV. Like and subscribe. Makes all the difference in the world. Thanks to the Final Cut Pro team for all that you're doing. We know you watch these live streams, and I'll be seeing you in a couple weeks. And I'm going to get out of here. I got somewhere to go. I got to go to an art museum. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you. I'll probably be back on this week, just for short recap videos, especially if there's any Final Cut Pro sighting. If not, I'll see you next Saturday. Final Cut TV and coffee. Thank you. I know, buddy. Good show. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it.